I never imagined that bringing life into the world would be the very thing that destroyed mine. He used to whisper that I was his everything. But the moment I told him I was pregnant, he looked at me like I was a stranger. And soon, I became invisible in my own home. This is my story. And I've waited years to tell it. I remember the way he used to hold my hand in public, as if I were the most precious thing he'd ever found. His fingers always gently curved around mine, like a silent promise that he'd protect me from everything. And for a long time I believed him. We met in the most ordinary way, a bookstore on a rainy afternoon. I was reaching for a copy of Wuthering Heights when he leaned in, smiling, and said, "Classic heartbreak. You sure you want to read that?" I smiled back. I should have known then. Maybe I did. Maybe we always know. His name was Daniel. And in the beginning, he was everything a girl raised on love stories dreams of. He remembered my coffee order after our first date. He left sticky notes on my mirror that said things like, "You are magic, and I'm proud of you." He learned my sister's name and called my mother on her birthday. He was charming, generous, present. Too present sometimes. He liked knowing where I was. He said it made him feel secure. "The world's crazy," he'd say. "I just want to know you're safe." And I thought, that's sweet. That's love. But love shouldn't feel like surveillance. I learned that much later. At the time, I mistook his control for care. When I told him I loved him for the first time, we were lying under a sky full of stars on his apartment rooftop. He kissed me slowly and whispered, "I've waited my whole life for you." That moment, that one sentence, I clung to it for years. Even when everything inside me was screaming that he wasn't the same man anymore. We moved in together 6 months after we met. It felt fast, but love doesn't follow rules, right? And I was tired of waiting to be chosen. He made me feel like I was home. Until one day, home started to feel like a place I wasn't welcome anymore. It began with little things. Him forgetting the way I liked my eggs. Not answering my texts when he used to reply in seconds. Turning the volume up when I cried quietly in bed. And then, the pregnancy test. I remember holding that small stick in my shaking hands. 2 lines. I stared at them for minutes, maybe hours. My heart beat so fast I thought it might break my ribs. Pregnant. I was pregnant. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel afraid of the future. I felt full, like there was something growing inside me that finally made sense. I waited for him to come home. I had it all planned. Dinner, candles, soft music. I even bought a little onesie that said, "Daddy's favorite." When he walked in, I smiled like I'd won the lottery. I told him. 3 words that changed everything. "I'm pregnant." He didn't smile. He didn't touch me. He looked at me as if I'd told him someone had died. And in a way, I had. He walked past me, sat on the couch, and said nothing. For a long time. Then he looked up and said, "Are you sure?" No joy. No tears. No excitement. Only distance. Cold, immediate distance. That night, he slept in the guest room for the first time. I told myself it was shock. I told myself he just needed time. I told myself stories for months, trying to rewrite the truth. But the truth was, he never came back. He stayed in the house. But he was gone. He stopped saying good morning. He stopped kissing me. He started working late, even on weekends. He stopped touching me, even by accident. It was as if my body, swollen with life, had become invisible to him, like I had turned into something disgusting, a burden, a reminder of what he didn't want. And every time I asked him, "Do you still love me?" he would sigh. "Why are you always so dramatic?" He began accusing me of making everything about me. He said I was too emotional, that I should get over the hormones. But it wasn't the hormones. It was heartbreak. Being abandoned slowly by the one person you thought would never leave. That's a kind of grief no one warns you about. He didn't leave overnight. No. That would have been easier. Instead, he faded away. Day by day, word by word, until the man I once loved became a silent stranger who shared my roof, but not my life. The night my water broke, he wasn't home. I called him. Once. Twice. No answer. It was 11:47 p.m. I was barefoot, standing in a puddle of fear on our kitchen floor, holding onto the counter with one hand and my belly with the other. I texted him, "It's time. I need you." No reply, so I called a taxi, alone. The driver didn't say much. I think he could see it in my face. The panic, the heartbreak, the loneliness wrapped in labor pains. When I got to the hospital, the nurse asked me, "Where's Dad?" I wanted to say, "Which one? The man who made this child, or the one who vanished the moment it happened?" But I didn't. I just smiled, the kind of smile you give when you don't want to cry in front of strangers. I was in labor for 17 hours. No hand to hold, no voice to whisper. "You're doing great." Just white walls, fluorescent lights, and the sound of my own breathing between contractions. And then she was here. My daughter. My miracle. She cried before I did. But when I held her, the world made sense again for a moment. She had my nose, my mother's eyes. She was mine. I sent him a picture. Just one. No words. He replied 3 hours later. "Congrats, I'll be home late." That's when I realized I was already a single mother. He came to the hospital once. Held her like she was made of glass. Didn't kiss her. Didn't kiss me. And when we got home, it was like nothing had happened. He went back to the guest room. I went back to pretending. But pretending is exhausting. And every day, I watched myself disappear. I stopped doing my hair, stopped talking to friends, stopped eating full meals. I was shrinking, dimming, not because of the baby, because of the silence, the absence, the slow erosion of love that once felt like a promise. Until one morning, I heard my daughter crying, and something in me cracked open. I looked in the mirror and I saw her. Not the baby, but the woman holding her. And I didn't recognize her. Her eyes were hollow, her shoulders slumped, her lips cracked and wordless. And I asked, "Is this who I want my daughter to learn love from?" That question haunted me. It followed me through diaper changes, midnight feedings, and the sound of his keys turning in the door like a stranger walking into a stranger's house. And then, one day, he yelled at me for leaving a bib on the floor. A bib. He said I was messy, lazy, not like you used to be. And I looked at him, really looked. And for the first time in months, I saw it. He hadn't become a stranger. He had always been one. After that argument over the bib, I sat alone in the nursery while my daughter slept. The mobile above her crib spun gently, playing a lullaby I used to hum before everything fell apart. And I made a decision. Not a loud one, not a dramatic one, but a quiet, steady, rooted decision. I was going to leave. Not today, not recklessly, but I was going to find a way to build a life for her, and for me, without the weight of his silence crushing us both. The next few weeks were a blur of pretending and planning. I smiled when he was home. I cooked dinner. I nodded. I agreed. But at night, when he fell asleep, I searched for apartments. I Googled jobs I hadn't thought about in years. I emailed friends I hadn't spoken to in forever, asking for help, gently, without shame. And you know what surprised me the most? They came. One by one they came back, like I had never left, like they were waiting for me to remember who I was. I found a small studio apartment across town. Not much, but enough. Enough to breathe. Enough to cry without being told I was too sensitive. Enough to sing lullabies and mean every word. I packed in silence, one box at a time. Started with the baby's things, then mine. I left the day he forgot her birthday. Yes. He forgot her first birthday. He came home late. Didn't even look at the balloons. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just waited for him to fall asleep. Then I picked up my daughter, kissed her soft curls, and whispered, "We're going now." And we did. The first night in our new place, I didn't sleep. I laid on the floor with her beside me, both of us wrapped in a single blanket. No crib, no furniture, just freedom, just peace. I was scared, but I wasn't alone anymore, because I had found myself again. And I had her. She saved me as much as I saved her. Today, I don't tell this story because I want pity. I tell it because I know there's someone out there, maybe you, who's wondering if you're imagining it, if you're the problem, if you're asking for too much. You're not. Love shouldn't feel like being erased. Motherhood shouldn't be punishment. Silence isn't love. You deserve to be seen, to be chosen. Every single day. And if no one's told you that in a long time, let me be the first. You deserve better. If this story touched something inside you, if you've lived through anything like this, please share your story in the comments. You never know who needs to read it. And if you're still finding your voice, know this. I hear you. And so do the thousands of others who've walked this path. Subscribe to Heartland Confessions for more stories like this. Real voices, real pain, real healing. You're not alone. Not anymore.